What's up everybody, this is Jack from Crypto49er. Stay tuned for today's trivia question for a chance to win $5 in Litecoin or $10 if you use Cryptobridge. So anyway, today I want to talk about resources I use for learning about crypto. So one resource I found enormously helpful to me is podcasts. I've been listening to podcasts since it first came out pretty much. And I used to have 2 hours of commute every day to work and would just load it up with a ton of podcasts. But now I don't have that. I still listen to as much podcasts as I can. Now I would say 90% of the podcasts I listen to are cryptocurrency related. So today I'm going to share with you guys the 5 podcasts that I listen to on a regular basis in order to stay informed and to learn more about cryptocurrency. So the first one is Block Zero. It's a new podcast, relatively new anyway, from Kevin Rose. Some of you might know who he is. For me, I know him all the way back from Tech TV days. So that's when I started watching Tech TV, when there was actually a cable channel, which no longer exists. I mean, I always had interest in tech, and I do recall it was either on Tech TV or on Twit, another podcast I listened to back in the day, that they talked about Bitcoin mining, and I had some interest in it back then even, but I didn't have as much as I do now. But obviously, I think it's the same for Kevin, because he only started it recently, the podcast, and he really has brought in some really interesting guests lately anyway. The last few shows, talking about Stellar, Bankroll, and MakerDAO, there's really a lot of information there that really don't think I could get from anywhere else. So the next one is the Bad Crypto Podcast. These two guys are pretty funny, I have to say. I've been listening to them since probably a few months back. And the good thing is they're funny and they also don't really know much about crypto. That's why they call it the Bad Crypto Podcast. Well, they're not that they don't know, it's just that they started off not knowing, and they started off pretty much like how I started off with my YouTube channel, and having some idea, knowing enough about technology, but not knowing that much about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. But because they have a good marketing background, they are able to invite a lot of people that do know a lot about cryptocurrency. One of the episodes I like a lot, the one with Amanda B. Johnson from Dash, that gave me a very good understanding of how Dash works. And even though I had some idea how Dash worked previously, I just didn't know the details of it. That was a pretty good interview, and they have so much information that they cover on a regular basis. They release so much episodes. Unless you have a commute on a regular basis, it's really hard to cover all the episodes. So a pro tip is don't listen to the live episodes, because the live episodes usually cover these Shark Tank like pitches that they have from people that really want to get into crypto, which is great, but then there's no product. And some of these pitches just sounds ridiculous. So, but hey, I mean, if you like those, fine. But to me, those are not very informative, and that's why I don't listen to those. So the next 3 I want to discuss though are really focused on Bitcoin, to the point where you can call these 3 podcasts Bitcoin Maximalist Podcasts. What does Bitcoin Maximalist mean? As defined on Reddit, Bitcoin maximalism is the belief that it is better to maximize your efforts and investments in one single coin due to the potency of the network effect than to split your efforts investment into others. It is position supported by Metcalfe's Law. If you guys don't know the Metcalfe's Law, it's actually from a guy named Bob Metcalfe. He actually invented the Ethernet. I think it's pretty valid, especially with Bitcoin and all cryptocurrency that relies on blockchain being really just a network. Point being, these 3 podcasts, they really focus on Bitcoin, and they kind of do say that all these other altcoins are shit coins. So let's get into it. So the first one is the Bitcoin Knowledge Podcast by Trace Mayer. I have brought up Trace Mayer in the past several times because he's been investing in Bitcoin since way back in the day. According to the podcast anyway, since way back when Bitcoin was a quarter. So just think about that. A quarter. That's crazy. So obviously he's a multi-millionaire now from how many Bitcoin he has. There are a lot of good episodes, but I do have to say the audio quality isn't always the best, just because of where he is having these interviews with some of his guests. But one episode I do recommend is actually the one on October 19th, a response to Cointelegraph fake news with case for and against the $27,000 Bitcoin. This is the episode where he doesn't quite explain it as the Mayer multiple, but that's what he does explain or end up explaining in the process. So if you guys have watched my videos of the Mayer multiple and want to get an explanation from the person that pretty much invented it himself, you should definitely listen to this episode. So the next podcast is the Bitcoin Game. I think a couple months back, I was just going through a ton of different Bitcoin podcasts. I have to say a lot of Bitcoin podcasts are pretty damn boring. For this one from Rob Mitchell, it's actually pretty interesting. It's funny. It's an interview. It's not. I mean, it's not funny, but it's more like it's I mean, compared to Bad Crypto podcast, he's not trying to make it a comedy show almost, but then it's more the fact that there are a lot of interesting interviews that he has with many different people that are involved in cryptocurrency. I think my favorite episode is actually number 28. It is with the CEO of CoinCube. I think I pointed out CoinCube in the past as basically as a trading bot. And I also did point out in the past that I won't be using a trading bot because CoinCube was hacked. I won't be using a trading bot that I don't control personally, and this is one of those trading bots. But the interview itself is still very interesting, explaining how the trading bot works, explaining the different intricacies, and even though the interview itself is pretty old, it's back in 2015. And to see that the CoinCube as a trading bot is still working as of today, but then they have made some changes. It's a very interesting listen just to get some idea how long Bitcoin has been around and how long people have been working with this technology. So the last one is Bitcoin and markets. So Ansel Liner talks all about the stats about Bitcoin. He is probably the Bitcoin maximalist out of all the three that I mentioned, because he really does not like all these other altcoins, and he really just talks about Bitcoin exclusively on his podcast. He talks about all the different stats that you can come up with to discuss the transaction fees, the mempool size, and just news about Bitcoin. There's so much he discussed there. I really do like the information that I get from him, and it really is informative if you really do want to know about the number one coin in cryptocurrency. And he releases episodes on a regular basis, so you pretty much, between him and the Bad Crypto podcast, they release plenty of content compared to Bitcoin Knowledge podcast and even the Bitcoin Game, where they basically release an episode whenever they want to, which is like maybe at most once a month sometimes. But Bad Crypto podcast, Bitcoin Markets, they pretty much release like 1 or 2 episodes per week. And Block Zero, there's probably 1 episode every 2 weeks. So now that I give you the 5 podcasts I listen to, I'm going to give you a bonus one. And that is the Investors Podcast. The Investor Podcast doesn't really cover Bitcoin or cryptocurrency per se, but they kind of dived into it last year and even made a site called Mayer Multiple. That's to help people understand the knowledge and the thinking from Trace Mayer. So that's how I really got to understand the Mayer Multiple. It's really from their site. So even though they don't cover cryptocurrency in their podcasts, they do have some really useful knowledge just from the investing side of things. So that's pretty much all the cryptocurrency podcasts that I listen to on a regular basis. I hope you guys can find some of these useful and be able to find time to fit them into your lives so you can learn more about cryptocurrency using the same resources that I am using. So let's get to the trivia question. The trivia question, which if you can answer correctly from the release of this video to tomorrow to Friday. So you have up to Friday before I release Friday's video for a chance to win. And here is the trivia question. Which exchange will allow you to trade directly from your Ledger Nano S? So I talked about one, but I just found out another. So that basically is 2 answers that you can give me. At least 2 probably. I mean, there could be more, right? So I'll pick a random winner from all the people that answers this trivia question correctly. Good luck, everyone. And that's my video for today. Smash that subscribe button for me. Smash that like button for me if you can. I really appreciate it. If it isn't crypto, it isn't worth mining. It isn't worth speculating. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.